Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive scriptural mystery, a true biblical enigma about a figure who just suddenly appears. We're talking about someone showing up out of nowhere, in the deep wilderness, right in the middle of blazing fire, and up on isolated mountaintops. And he usually arrives right beside terrified people who literally think they're at the very end of their lives, carrying this incredibly weighty, mysterious title, the Angel of the Lord. But here's the absolute anomaly. Every single time this figure shows up, he starts doing things that, well, only God should be doing. He speaks as God, he receives worship, he forgives sin, and he consistently leaves every single witness completely convinced they haven't just met an angel, they've actually seen God himself. So, looking at all that evidence, we really have to ask ourselves, who exactly is the angel of the Lord? I mean, is this just some top-tier, highly ranked messenger? Or could these mysterious appearances actually be revealing something astonishing about Jesus Christ centuries before Bethlehem? Let's dig into Section 1, the scriptural evidence. To piece this puzzle together, we've got to start with one of the most famous encounters in the entire Bible. Picture Moses. He's just out tending sheep in the wilderness when he sees this impossible sight, a bush that is completely engulfed in flames, but it isn't burning up. And if we look closely at Exodus 3:2, the text explicitly introduces our mystery figure. It says, "And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush." Okay, simple enough, right? An angel appears. But hold on. Notice what happens literally 2 verses later. That clear distinction? It just vanishes. The text suddenly says, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. So first the angel appears, and then God himself begins speaking from that exact same bush. And this builds right to the climax of the whole encounter. Right out of that fire, the voice claims the ultimate divine name, I am who I am. That proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that we aren't dealing with an ordinary messenger just delivering a memo here. This is the divine name itself. And you know what? That burning bush is actually just one piece of a massive, repeating pattern that spans centuries. Think about it. Way back around 1910 BC, this figure appears to Hagar in the wilderness, then to Abraham at Mount Moriah, then to Moses, like we just talked about, and even centuries later to Manoah and his wife around 1075 BC. The pattern here is honestly stunning. Time and time again, the angel appears, the angel speaks, and the people walking away are entirely convinced they just encountered God. Hagar directly declares, "You are a God of seeing." Abraham hears the angel swear, declares the Lord. Manoah straight up panics, telling his wife, "We shall surely die, for we have seen God." And the craziest part? The biblical narrative never steps in to correct them. It just lets that conclusion stand. Which brings us to Section 2, decoding the terminology. Because a crucial point we really have to wrestle with is the terminology itself. See, when modern readers see the word angel, we instantly picture a created heavenly being, usually with wings and a halo. But the original Hebrew word, it simply translates to messenger. It's a job description, guys, not necessarily a species. So the question we should be asking isn't whether this figure is a messenger, but rather, whose messenger is he, and why on earth is he speaking as God himself? Well, the New Testament drops a massive clue for us here. The very opening of John's Gospel clearly teaches that the Son of God's existence absolutely did not begin in a manger. Bethlehem was the start of his earthly life, for sure, but it was not the beginning of his existence. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, because the Father is repeatedly described throughout Scripture as unseen, Christians and theologians throughout history have identified these visible divine Old Testament appearances as Christophanies. A Christophany is simply an appearance or visible manifestation of Christ prior to his earthly incarnation. Let's look closer at that in Section 3, the Christ connection. If we actually lay out the evidence side by side, placing these ancient encounters right next to the earthly life of Jesus, the parallels are wild. The Old Testament actions of the angel perfectly mirror the New Testament actions of Christ. The angel of the Lord speaks with divine authority. Jesus teaches with divine authority. The angel forgives, commands, and judges. Jesus forgives, commands, and judges. When you line it up like that, the connection is practically impossible to ignore. And Jesus himself confirms this incredible dynamic. He states it so clearly in John 14:9, "Whoever has seen me has seen the Father." He is the ultimate, visible revelation of the unseen God to humanity. So the shadows are finally taking shape here. Both testaments present a figure distinct in person, but entirely unified in divine essence. The Old Testament presents this mysterious figure who is distinct from God, yet fully identified with God. Then the New Testament comes along and reveals the eternal Son, distinct from the Father, yet fully God. It's the exact same structure.
Which leads us to our final part, Section 4, Shadows of the Sun.
Let's bring all these puzzle pieces together. The angel of the Lord isn't the final destination of our theological journey. Really, he's a miraculous signpost pointing us forward to the ultimate substance. It's a shadow pointing us directly, unmistakably, to Christ. John 1:18 gives us this remarkable verse that just perfectly wraps up the whole mystery. No one has ever seen God, the only God who is at the Father's side, he has made him known. That's it, right there. From Genesis all the way to Revelation, the Son has always been the one making God known to humanity.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. If the story of Jesus actually begins in Genesis, how does this hidden thread change the way you read the rest of the text? If Christ was already walking with his people, speaking to Hagar in the desert, stopping Abraham's knife, and calling to Moses out of the fire long before he was ever born in Bethlehem, what other profound mysteries are just waiting for us to uncover in the Old Testament? Keep digging and keep following that thread.